Ooh.
And we are live. Welcome to this second round preview of Blue Line Icing, presented by ThunderblogSports.com, a part of the Bullpen Cart podcast feed. I, of course, am the G-Man, Jordy Cannell. Joining me are our two experts, if we want to call them that. Jared, of course, being the winner of the first round. So, Jared, we'll start with you. How are you, my friend?
I am well, gentlemen. I have no legs under me currently. I ran a half marathon this morning up in Bethlehem, in Allentown to be exact. No legs underneath me. You're going to have to carry me the whole time.
I mean, you carried us in the first round. And aside from his Bruins, Greg came in at a 1-7 record out of the first round. Greg, how you feeling, my man?
I don't know if that's accurate. I'm gonna go out on a limb and say
you were 1-7. I was one. You were 1-7. I was 2-7 or 2-6. Jared was 3-5.
Yep.
It's weird it's weird because I picked. I know for a fact that I picked the Blues to win, but yet somehow
you said Winnipeg on the pot.
Well, my bracket challenge, I'm looking at it, says the Blues.
If the money's down, I'll take the money down. But on the podcast, you said Winnipeg.
I believe you.
I think Jared and I picked St. Louis, so you wanted to go against the grain, which is understandable.
I believe
understandable.
You. No, I believe you. I'm just saying it's weird. It's weird because I was looking at it and I thought I got robbed because I thought I had picked St. Louis, but apparently, when you listen back, we'll have to have the.
I wrote it down as we were recording. So
we'll have to have the listeners actually listen to us and
tweet at us. Tweet hashtag Greg is right or Greg is wrong, and we'll see what Sir Gregor has. But how you feeling otherwise? I mean, the Bruins are through. They're one of the only top seeds that actually made it through the first round. How you feeling, Greg?
Deadlocked in a physical series, and the Bruins they're in game 2 looked double overtime, but they look super tired and a little sluggish.
What was Patrice doing there last night?
He couldn't score, and when you can't score, you get frustrated. I guess.
Trust me, I know the feeling.
There's nice. Bergeron took a crucial penalty, but honestly, it goes back to Charlie Coyle, the guy who's been carrying the team.
Yes.
The last couple games had an awful turnover, something they teach you in mini mites, never throw the puck blindly through the middle. And he threw the puck blindly through the middle, and that was the game tying goal. And Tuukka played unreal 2 overtimes later, and now they're 1-1 going back to Columbus.
Well, that's the thing. It was actually on ESPN as I'm looking at it here. That was actually called the dud of the night. Now, granted, Chris Letang,
ESPN even talking about hockey.
Yeah, I mean, you look at Chris Letang for the Penguins, he did that at least 7 times. And Jordy, you were here for one game and I was screaming at the TV. And I had multiple other people as I was watching the game. What is the one thing we always talk about? You never pass the puck in front of the net.
Nope.
Ever.
Nope.
It just bothers the hell out of me. But moving on.
Mini mites. Something you learn in mini mites. It's that.
I wish I played mini mites, man. I only played at the Boys and Girls Club. That's where I started.
You probably learned it. You probably learned it at the Boys and Girls Club.
Yeah.
My nickname was Deadeye growing up. Do you think I learned at the Boys and Girls Club? And I wasn't a sniper with my nickname.
You're dead shot like Will Smith in that
nope.
shitty DC movie.
To quote Mr. Dinkfeld, it's like you have 2 dead eyes. You can't hit the broadside of the barn. You suck.
I mean, I've seen you swing the stick before.
Well,
it go a long way.
I'm better now.
Yeah. So anyway, point is, Jordy, all my bracket challenges I had St. Louis down, and I had them winning going to the Western Conference Finals. So, but you know what? I'll trust the blog. I'll trust your write-up. Just embarrass me for the whole internet to see.
So it happens.
I appreciate you embarrassing me like that. Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing I have to brag about is out of going 2 for 6. The only thing I still have going for me is I picked the Bruins to win Stanley Cup, and they're only finalist of the 3 of us in picks. to still be alive. So
no, and more credit to you. And I said if it wasn't Tampa, it'd be Boston. But
Yeah.
Boston just a 7-game grind with Toronto. Columbus is looking like it's going to be another 7-game physical grind. So I don't know, man. It's going to be tough. And we talked about it first and foremost. The second round matchup between Carolina and the New York Islanders in a private text. What a joke of a series.
yeah, Jesus.
Should we start there, Jordy, in the second round?
Let's start there because this was the series none of us had. We all had picked the same way for the first round, so none of us even had either of these teams here. And both games have been absolutely abysmal. And I mean, the Carolina won this afternoon. We're recording this Sunday night right before Game of Thrones. And I mean, they're up 2-0 going home.
Love it.
Yeah, I mean, the Islanders, I think all three of us, we all picked the Islanders to win in different games and whatnot. But I mean, it looks like they just ran out of steam after the win against the Penguins. Carolina,
I picked the Islanders to get swept by the Penguins.
Yeah, that's true. You did. And Jared and I both had them in 5, or the Penguins in 5. But we all thought these guys were going to run out of steam coming into the playoffs. It looks like they've run out of steam now. I don't know if I'm just trying to oversimplify this or if I'm just thinking correctly, but I mean, Carolina just knows how to grind this thing out.
I have a question for Jared.
Yes.
Did Matt Murray play terribly? Because this Islanders team has 0. Barzell, they have 1 player, one offensive player. Did Matt Murray just not show up?
So I think it's a conglomeration of things. Number one, you have 5 people on a line, as we all know, and we were all playing as single players. We weren't playing as a team. Mm-hmm. And when Matt Murray is your last line of defense, and his glove hand is worse than my glove hand at first base, there's not much you can do. And that's the part where a lot of people are on Murray. They're also on Sullivan as well, bitching about him. And I'll be quite honest with you, you can only do so much when your defense isn't there as a goalie. But there was a lot of goals that went short side or they went through the 6-hole on Murray. And it was one of those where, I don't know. I just really feel that he did what he could. And you just can't win that way.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, I was just shocked because after watching the first 2 games with Carolina and the Islanders, and I guess we're picking the series based on us not knowing the score or whatever, but the Islanders just have little to no offense, and we said it coming into the series into the second round, into the playoffs in general, that they had 1 player, and to see a team like Pittsburgh who has all the talent in the world and all world players, them get beat essentially by 1 guy really makes you beg the question, is it really that they have 0 defense? Is it really that Murray's that bad? Like, what is the root cause of their problems?
There's a lot. I mean, right now it's looking like Kessel's going to get traded. Malkin could get traded. Hornquist.
They're going to get rid of Malkin?
Honestly, I think they should.
Wow.
Interesting.
Yeah, I mean, there is and this is not about the Penguins. We'll leave it at this. I think there's a lot with Malkin. He's really become a reckless player and very selfish, and we don't need that.
Wow.
Sure. Okay.
Maybe the Flyers can pick him up, Jordy.
I mean, I don't know if then again, I was about to say, I don't know if he'd be welcome here, but then again, we've picked up previous Penguins before, like Maxime Talbot, and they fit in well, but I don't know if the Flyers are in a position to make trades, and that's nothing out of them. But on the Islanders, though, I mean, we the biggest question mark we had was Robin Lehner and whether or not Thomas Greiss would get time, and obviously it was all Lehner in the first round, and he played outstanding. So I mean, we can't really limit what the Islanders did for those first 4 games.
Yep.
But I think what Carolina proved against Washington is that they can play both that grinded out game, and they can dig themselves out of holes that Washington certainly put them in, and the Islanders have in both games. But they can also play that run and gun game, and we haven't seen that yet, and we might see it when it moves back to Carolina with them already up 2-0. So I don't know. I really think that the Hurricanes have just been, and it's crazy to say this with Barry Trotz as the bench boss of the Islanders, but I think Rod Brind'Amour has just outcoached him here. And yeah, Barzell, he's played okay in this round specifically, but those Islanders teams have done really well, or the Hurricanes teams, excuse me.
And one of the things I can say is from watching the Penguin series now, the Hurricanes Islander series, it's a different pace. There's not with like the Penguins where you're trying for that outlet pass, which means you're going to strand somebody in the back. They're playing man on man. So that's the real big difference where you're going through and you're trying to see and what's going on and all that. And like, oh, let me throw an outlet, or, oh, let me throw a dump and run. You're not seeing that with Carolina.
Yeah. And one thing to be worried about too is Peter Mrazek did leave today's game. He was a little banged up, and Curtis McElhinney, I think I'm pronouncing his last name right, but he subbed in. He subbed in really well. I mean, well enough. They came down from 1-0. I don't know. They're moving home. They're up 2-0, but is that something to be concerned about? All three of us picked Carolina. Does that make you worried at all, seeing that Mrazek's a little banged up?
Yes, but it depends upon what it is, right? If it's a groin, you stretch it out in the next 2 days, he could be fine. If it's a hamstring, similar thing. But, groin lingers longer. Whereas, if it's something like a tear, if it's something long-term, then McElhinney, their backup, he looked shaky, not going to lie. The Islanders hit the post and crossbar a couple times, and a couple chances they could have put in, just like the Bruins. But, it's, to me, it definitely affects the series, definitely changes a game, because it's a whole different style of play when you have a backup goalie and you have to adjust, you have to play differently. Defensively, you can't trust your goalie as much. You do things differently. You just are more, you pinch less, you're less aggressive because you're trying to protect the net. It's just a completely different game that you'd play as a team. So I think it does affect them. I think it does change their style of play, but at the same time, if Carolina's proven anything, they're just a bunch of tryhards that'll figure out anything. So, and the Islanders, they're terrible. So,
yeah,
this is true, but they beat the Penguins, so it's fine.
Yeah, that one hurt, beating the Penguins. That really hurt my pride.
It hurt you? Well, let's move on. Let's move on and talk about that double overtime loss last night there, Gregorio.
Yeah, We'll move over, and Jared, I'm gonna have this be a theme of the night of speaking Pittsburgh with Jared, of your quotes. So the Carolina Islanders, you just had the Jerks will beat the Seamen in 6 games. Are you sticking with that? 6 games? You still feel confident that way?
Well, especially now, Jordy. With a goalie, it's all relative. It's like West Virginia; it's all relative. You never know with these series. It could be with the backup coming in and see when Mrazek comes back. I'm not sure. I'm going to stick with 6. You never know how it's going to turn out, so I'll stick with 6.
Sure, that makes sense.
It's playoff hockey.
It is. Well, let's move over to Columbus and Boston.
Are you going to give us everyone's picks?
So Greg, you had them in 7. I'm going to think are you sticking with Carolina in 7, or are you changing your mind?
No, you know what? Why would I change now, Jordy? Be a man of your convictions. There's already speculation that the first round that you had it wrong, so I'm gonna stick with my 7.
Wow.
I think if you listen back, I think I wrote them down right. I'm not that crazy of a person. I also had them in 6. I'm gonna stick with that. Let's move over to your Brew Crew, though. The Bruins and the Columbus Blue Jackets are currently tied at 1, as Jared mentioned. A double overtime game last night. The Bruins looked like they had the first game pretty handily, but Columbus, showing what they did against Tampa, really grinding that out and knowing how to stifle a Bruins team that, the depth is a question of one way or the other. But you mentioned Charlie Coyle, and I think I think the Bruins just have the couple steps deeper in terms of offensive depth. I think defensively they certainly have the depth there, and if Tuukka keeps playing the way that he is, I think it could be quicker than 6. I pick the Bruins to finish in 6 games, but I don't know. I think if Tuukka keeps staying hot outside of a double overtime loss, it could be a quicker series. It could be 5, but I don't know. What have you guys thought about this series so far?
Yeah. So first and foremost, the reason why the Bruins are where they are right now is because of penalties. They had that game 5-on-5. They were controlling every step of the way. They took some dumb penalties, which led to tying goals and then the game winner. And quite frankly, it's a little reminiscent of how the Bruins beat the Toronto Maple Leafs, because it was a similar situation where the Maple Leafs were controlling 5-on-5, but the Bruins kept getting power play opportunities and took advantage of it. Columbus has too much talent. They've proven that, too much talent offensively to not produce on the power play. And a Boston team that's trying to be physical, the problem is Columbus is matching that physicality. Columbus realized in the first game that they can't bully Boston like they bullied Tampa. So I think that threw them for a loop a little bit. But I think game 3, hopefully the Bruins come out with a little more energy than they did in this game 2. Granted, again, Tuukka was this whole reason why that it went to double overtime, and the Bruins, like you mentioned, Jordy, had a chance to make it 2-0 going back to Columbus, and probably should have. But yeah, I mean, I said 7 games. I knew it was going to be grind, and I stand by it.
Yeah, I'm in a similar boat. I thought I think they get it done in 6. I just think the Bruins, the way they can play defensively, I think can shut them down. But I could see going 7-2. I feel confident in 6 coming through this. I think they might split the games in Columbus, come back 2-2, and the Bruins get it done there. I mean, if they really dominate Columbus in either games 3 or 4, it really is gonna say a lot. But I'm not going to count the Blue Jackets out.
Nope.
We saw what they did in the first round. Jared, what say you, my man? You're riding high with the Columbus Blue Jackets. So how are you feeling so far?
It's one of those. I watched the game last night, getting ready before the half this morning, and I went to bed after the first. And I was watching the game, and I went, "Wow!" You could just see once again. Like I said, I hate the generalities, but with playoff hockey, there was hits, there were shots, and if Bob is good, like we've said from the beginning, Bob is going to carry them in a sense. And I mean, you had Matt Duchene kick the puck to himself to score the overtime goal. Boston is just a juggernaut. It really is. I just think it's going to be mistakes on their part. And I firmly feel that it's going to be mistakes moving forward that really puts them behind. And Greg, I hate to say it, but Boston reminds me of the Penguins a lot. They have the talent, they have the lines, but it's going to be them getting a little overzealous that it really bites them in the ass in the end.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's definitely concerning because there's 2 guys on the team right now that were stellar all year, really, really good to begin the playoffs and for the Bruins, and they took big hits in the Toronto series, that being Jacob DeBrusk and David Pastrnak, and the 2 of them have been shells of themselves ever since. They look like they're coasting around. They're afraid of contact. They're afraid of hits. And Bruce Cassidy keeps playing them, obviously, because they're 2 of the top guys on the team. But they just, like you mentioned, Jared, they're just intimidated right now. And for whatever reason, they're forgetting the fact that they're these elite players and they're in the NHL, and they're on the second now, the most points regular season team left in the playoffs, and they should be playing with some confidence. But the 2 of them are really playing timidly right now, and I think for the Bruins to be successful moving forward, those 2 really need to find their game and just be a shell of themselves, or just be a touch of themselves a little bit more than they have been the first 2 games. And even going back to game 6 and 7 from the Toronto series, they really were shells of themselves. So hopefully those 2 turn around. Hopefully the Bruins can pull it out. I'm sticking with Bruins in 7. Something about being in Boston for game 7 is hard to pass up for them.
Yeah, I'm in a similar boat. But I think if they figure it out, and the Bruins forward depth stays where it is, because obviously Columbus added a lot up front there, but I really think if the Bruins come together with how they played in the first round, and their top guys figure it out, I think they can really get it done. I feel still pretty confident about them getting this thing done in 6 games.
Hey, good for you. I'm so glad you feel that way.
Yeah, I mean, I picked they're my cup winner. I got to feel confident on it. I'm just doubling down. You know,
Yeah, boy,
the life of a degenerate.
It's going to happen.
So, Jerry, I got to ask you. You mentioned the Robert Kraft stuff looming. You feel that this is really going to affect the Bruins coming into this round?
Not at all. It's just a way to get Greg rattled.
Greg, how do you feel about that?
I mean, 6 championships later, you can't really rattle me with Robert Kraft was getting a quick feel before the Super Bowl game just to get out some nerves.
All right. Yeah.
You can't rattle me because we had 6 first.
I mean, 6 first versus how many have you seen in your lifetime? I've got to see all 6. So,
well, you're right.
You know,
3 and 3, it's fine.
I mean,
Boston's working on a chance to have all 4 major championship trophies at the same time. With the Celtics looking very much realistic, and the Bruins now with no superstar team left, all the Bruins have to do is just play their game. Wildly enough,
I think the Celtics. I think Giannis had a little bit of a slip up today. I think. Giannis might figure it out. I wouldn't get so far to step over him. You beat him last year, but even your own Bill Simmons is a big Giannis guy. Basically sucking that guy's dick. So I wouldn't get too far yet.
Whoa, Jordy. Keep it in your pants, huh? Jeez.
No, I listen to the Bill Simmons podcast. No, not to promote other stuff, but he loves
free ads. I'm not listening to anyone else's podcast. Get out of here.
Man. I will say this right now, and I will continue to say it. I want the Bruins to win, but I want the Sixers to be the ones to. They got to get by Toronto first, so I'm not overstepping my bounds. But I want the Sixers to be the ones to finish it off. So Joel Embiid can say, "I want you to know it was me. We love you, Africa." But I want you to know it was me.
I'll say it this way, boys. Before Matt DiStefano, the fake Matty D, because he doesn't listen to these, haven't shook him in a while. Pittsburgh doesn't have a basketball team. We had the Pipers and the Condors, so I have no skin in the game.
How do Pipers and Condors fit for basketball in Pittsburgh? Pipers because there's a lot of rivers.
Don't you do it? Don't you ask questions that you don't want to know the answers to?
Jordy, it was way before my time, just like the first 4 Super Bowls.
Jordy, you don't ask questions you don't want to know the answers to, bud.
I like to know the answers to everything. That's why I'm the knowledge, and that's the truth.
Oh,
let's move west, though. Let's move west, young man.
Should we talk about the game on my TV right now, boys? That just started. We're about a minute in. We have Colorado and San Jose.
I was going to start with Dallas and St. Louis since they've played 2 games.
That's fine.
You guys are good with that. So let's start with them. The Stars in St. Louis. It's 1-1 there. Both teams really, really great performances in the first round. Dallas getting it done in 5 games against Nashville, or in 6 games. And St. Louis getting it done pretty handily over Winnipeg, and hence the challenge from Greg here of, I'm sure, him wanting to go against the grain and everything, as we mentioned. But yeah, I mean, this is probably one of the series. Both Western Conference series. I think I'm looking forward to a little more just to watch.
Sorry, who did I pick?
In the first round, you picked. I had it as you picking Winnipeg over St. Louis, but for this series right now, all 3 of us have the St. Louis Blues coming out of this series, going to the Western Conference Finals. We have them in different games. Greg has them in 5, Jared has them in 6, and I have them in 7. Just out of respect of how well Dallas played. I know Nashville didn't really show up a ton against the Stars, but I think the Stars can really push it here. I think Ben Bishop's playing really well, so I think you have to really give Ben Bishop and their superstars a little bit of respect. So that's why I went in 7, but I feel pretty confident in Binnington and St. Louis.
Been nasty.
Yes, been nasty.
So I'm gonna be honest here. I, from the beginning, thought Dallas did not have the depth to match any team. I don't want to say forgot, but for whatever reason, I chose to misremember Ben Bishop's playoff ability. Playoff ability. He always does well in the playoffs. And Matt Zuccarello didn't play for the end of the season for Dallas, so it kind of made me forgot about him. But this Dallas team, the reason why I picked against them is because I just didn't think they had the depth, and I didn't think they had the real goaltending, the grit, everything they needed to really win a playoff series. Granted, Nashville played terribly and definitely showed that they're in turmoil or were in turmoil by the end of the year. But Dallas, to me, I still feel that St. Louis, which is why I picked them, St. Louis just has more to go with, has more to, more to their advantage, if you will. But Ben Bishop really is the wild card to me. And if Bishop outplays Bennington, then Dallas very easily could be moving on again.
Well, I think one of the things, boys, I can say is, as we talked about, like Chicago, at one point in the season, the Blues were dead last in the NHL.
Yes.
And
the
I
first
think
team post-New Year to make the playoffs when they've been in dead last.
And first off, number one, their winning song is Gloria. Gloria, I don't have your number. Like, that's number one. When you have that as your winning song, I mean, you can't go back. Number two, that puts a fire under your ass. When you're in dead last in the NHL, and then you can come back, make the playoffs, and make it to the second round, if you're not feeling yourself at some point, I'm not saying feeling yourself to where you can't play, but that doesn't give you a hard-on to, like, do the damn thing.
Really feeling yourself there.
Exactly. Well, I mean, not too much, not too soon. You don't want to blow your load early. I think it's one of those where with the Blues.
Wait, girls don't like that?
How does your roommate like it?
Ooh, getting personal.
Well, it's not personal. It's just a question of. Well, pass. We're gonna pass on that. Next.
Take a step back. Take a step back.
We're taking a step back. That was too personal. I'm sorry. Now I'm blushing.
What a world.
Never embarrassed, Jared.
Oh, I didn't say I was embarrassed. I'm just red-faced. Might have had a wine here this evening. Boys, I think it's 1-1 is not a make or break in a series. That's why we play 7 games.
Oh, yeah.
It's unlike the Penguins who don't know what the fucking win is this year. I can really say that we need to see what happens in the next game. I mean, Ben Bishop played one hell of a game last night, and I believe it was about 5 minutes left. He made a critical save. And let's just see what game 3 holds. Now, if the Blues come out hard and fast in the third game, I think it's I think I said 6 games. It could be a 5-game series at that point.
Yeah, it's going to be really interesting to see what happens with this because both teams really can step it up, and we've seen it in the playoffs, especially with St. Louis and how well they played in the first round. But Dallas certainly can too, and I think defensively, with Ben Bishop right behind him, but their defensemen can play incredibly well. And their first line, I mean, granted, St. Louis has the depth, and that's why I still feel confident in St. Louis to win this series. But if Dallas really figures out how to flex that first line, I mean, they could pull this thing out. I feel pretty confident in terms of games. I'd take the over under of 6 games for this thing to go the full distance. But I still feel pretty confident about the Blues here.
Awesome. So, Jared, give us an update. What's going on in Game 2, San Jose versus Colorado?
All right, boys. So before I go to a couple of things I pulled up here, at 14:30, they just had a face-off in the Sharks zone. It is 0-0. However, the game started with Mike Ricci and Evgeny Nabokov hyping up the fans.
Nice.
Nabokov, remember him?
Is it Mike? Is it Recchi or Ricci?
No, Mark Recchi played for the Penguinis and the Flyers and
the Bruins won a cup.
Yeah.
And the Montreal Canadiens, and probably he actually
He's
started.
not related though.
What's that?
Mike is not related to Mark.
No, because one is Recchi and one is Ricci.
Oh, did not realize that.
Yeah,
okay.
the spelling, it's fundamental, and I can't read. So yeah, right now, I mean, that was a cool to see them. Mike Ricci, no fucking teeth, none. Literally, the first 4 teeth you see, he had them out tonight. Great flow.
You said he played professional hockey back in the day?
He might have, but here's the thing. Even though Evgeny
Seems like it adds up.
had all his chiclets, Ben Bishop got a tooth knocked out, if you haven't heard about that.
Yes, you're absolutely right. We did not talk about that before. It's an anomaly of a goalie to have that happen. Holy shit.
Jordy, I'm going to end up getting one taken out in broom ball. I guarantee it.
I feel like you're gonna strike first before somebody hits your lovable giblets, Jared.
Oh, lovable giblets.
Yeah.
How you doing?
Hey, how you doing, buddy?
So, boys, I want to talk about one thing before we go into the second round. So,
Well, that took a turn quick.
It did. You got to watch the giblets. That's why you wear a cup, boys.
Yeah.
So, number one.
I think giblets are teeth. The jibs.
No.
Jibs.
Giblets are usually your balls.
I've heard jibs is teeth as well, so that's what I meant there.
Wow, I've never heard that. But anywho, let's go on number one. So, we're going to go back to the first series before we go to the second series. So, breaking news as of the 25th, if anybody saw it, the league did reach out and apologize to George McPhee in Vegas that they apologized for the major penalty call. That in itself, for everybody who doesn't know, Joel Pavelski off a face-off got cross-checked.
Yep. He missed game one because of this.
Yep. Essentially the throat. And then he got kind of blindsided, which is normal on a play like this because you're trying to get your thing. Well, his head hit the ice, and he kind of was bleeding from some orifice. More than likely, he cracked his head open during that. So with the league came in, and Jordy, if you want to tell those listening at home, how many goals did the Sharks score on that major penalty?
Yeah, so I'll do you one better. It was 3-0 Vegas when this penalty happened, and as I was watching the game, when Vegas went up 3-0, I turned the game off to go take a shower and go to bed and whatnot. And I had alerts on of scores and whatnot because I'd been at the Sixers, see them take care of the Nets, and get out of the shower, and it's 4-3 San Jose. So I hop out, I watch the end of the game, and I finally see this penalty. They scored 4 goals to answer your question on that power play, on this major power play, which if you've seen the penalty, it should not have been a major. Should have been just probably regular penalty. I mean, depending on who you talk to, what school you come from, some people might have just said that's a part of, face-offs and whatnot, but there's blood out there. I can see why they called a major. I don't agree with it, but
I mean, it's also the captain too, and
yeah,
looking at it and researching it, and Greg, I'd love to hear your thought on it. Sometimes it's like the NFL; some things need to be reviewable, and
that should have been. I mean, headshots are reviewable in football. That should be if it is in football where they're taking the most precaution possible, especially in something where a guy got thrown out. Because in college football, where a headshot is ejection automatically, and what they do is they review it. It should be in everything else. If you're going to eject somebody for something like that, it should be, if it isn't in amateur, quote unquote, we don't need to jump into that. But if it is in the amateur level, it should absolutely be in a professional level. If you're going to eject a player from the game for it.
To quote McPhee with the NHL's apology, but with respect to the organization, there will be no pity parties. We're not feeling sorry for ourselves. Stuff happens in this game. We're going to take the rearview mirror out of it and move forward and put a real good team on the ice next year. We're not going to carry on a big suitcase full of yesterdays. That's not going to happen.
Yes.
Greg, what say you?
Yeah, it's so tough because things are happening so quickly, and referees, officials at all levels really don't have, we have the luxury of replay, right? We have the luxury of being able to slow things down. And it's becoming, the Saints in the Super Bowl, it's becoming, the fact that outcomes of playoff games, outcomes of, regular season, you can get by. Okay, fine, no problem. But playoffs and when things really count, when things really matter, there has to be some sort of the 2-minute drill in the NFL where, hey, upstairs, we can automatically review a play. Hey, upstairs, we can automatically review a penalty. And I think it should only be if a penalty is called. Like in this case, the penalty was called, and which would still hurt the Saints. But in this case, the penalty was called, and if you look at it, there was no malice intent. That the blood's blood, and a high stick you get a 4-minute. In theory, for the high stick you get a 4-minute, and when there's blood, but regular no blood is just 2-minute. But this was, like you said, Jordy, one guy hit him with a stick accidentally. The other guy came in and cleaned him out, just trying to skate to block a shot. It really was a fluke play that
it was just a part of what happened. And
it resulted in him getting injured, which you never want to see.
You never want to see it. I'm not
at any level. So for me, and just being whatever level of hockey I've played, but for me, I think you can call a penalty, sure, but throwing a guy out and giving him that major in that scenario, I think was unwarranted, and I think the refs missed the call. And I think, like you said, Jared, they saw a guy laying on the ground with blood coming out from who knows where, and all they saw was that, and they reacted based on the result as opposed to the actual hit itself.
So, what I will have to say is, and that's a great segue, Greg, for another article I pulled up. Number one, I'm going to let you boys know at 12:04 in the first period, the Sharks scored. I believe it was Evander Kane, so it is 1-0 Colorado.
All right. Well, you mean San Jose? What?
San Jose. I'm dyslexic. It's fine.
It's all good. All good.
It's fine. But another thing is, too, it's the captain that has it coming out. So that's like Chara getting knocked down. It's like Crosby getting knocked down. It's like Captain Cloud getting knocked down. As a captain, you're seen a little differently, and especially with Pavelski. I think that probably takes into it. But to that, to be quite honest with you boys, an article came out. The Knights and the Sharks refs won't officiate in the second round, so two of the referees won't be there. So it is, as of right now, one of the major referees in the NHL, Dan O'Halloran, will not be in the second round. And I mean, Dan O'Halloran, for those who watch hockey, he's one of those major refs in the NHL. And the other one is Eric Furlat. Boys, what do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if it's just me watching so much baseball that guys who we've seen screw up calls and the ALDS, the NLDS that don't.
Hernandez.
I mean that's a really good point. The guys in the regular season too that just don't.
Joe West.
They don't get brought back for the later rounds. I mean, to me, it sounds like the league recognized they screwed it up there, so to not bring him back in the next round and probably shelve him for the rest of the postseason, it's probably the league further just taking the L and realizing, hey, you know what? We screwed up with this. These guys, we're going to move them out from there. That's why with the Super Bowl, it's why with the World Series, they always talk about how much experience they had. It's the guys who have done the best, have really come out unscathed throughout the season. I think it sounds about right.
Well, Greg, before we get to you, what if I were to tell you Game 7 was O'Halloran's 212th playoff game?
I mean, I think it's two things. I think, one, you take the referee out of the situation so that for himself, self-preservation, for the league, for the referees union, you make sure that he's not able to be scrutinized twice in one playoffs. It's a PR thing more than anything else. Record speaks for itself. The fact that that was his 200 and whatever playoff game just proves that he's a good ref, and his history speaks louder, than this one incident. And he made a snap decision based on, again, the reaction as opposed to the play. And when you watch it live, it looked bad. And when you watch it live, sure, you can call a penalty on it. To give a guy 5 minutes and a major where he can't, thrown out of the game, and now they're on a power play for 5 minutes straight. That is where I think they should be able to call upstairs. And the fact that they're no longer scheduled is, I think, strictly PR reasons, self-preservation for the refs, but also for the league in case, God forbid, one of these guys makes another mistake, and now it's like, well, he messed up the last one. How can you give him another shot?
Yeah, that's what I meant was shorter term, not bring themselves further into light. It's great that you have that number of games, but you remember more of the more recent screw up than you do the legacy of everything. The legacy can fizzle out in a snap.
As a state rep of mine who I used to work for said, Jared, one shit gets 10,000 attaboys out the window.
Yeah.
And it's true. And also being myself, being a referee and being in situations throughout my life. Now, granted, it's not the Stanley Cup or the World Series or whatnot. I've been in situations where I've had to say, you know what, I didn't see the play. Hell, in kickball the other night, they're like, he left early, and it was a veteran team that got knocked out of the playoffs to a younger team. If I can't see the play, I can't call it. But in that situation, I think one of the best things I could say, boys, is there was 4 officials that could have got together, talked, and I just really think since there was blood spilled, Jordy, as my quote, the sharks smell blood.
Yeah.
I really think, and especially because it was the captain, I think that's why the decision was made. And was it the right or wrong decision? Really, at the end of the day, it was the wrong decision. That's why that this happened.
Yeah.
I mean, you're not wrong to bring the captain into it, because it's certainly something where, especially off the bench, that's what I think that's a big reason why they were able to go bang, 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 all within a short period of time of, you fuck with our guy, you fuck with our leader, we're going to really fuck you up. And I think oh man, perfectly timed yikes from Craig there. But yeah, I think it's one of those things. You're not wrong. Of just the refs see the C on the ground, and especially, I mean, he was bleeding from his head. I think all of it adds up to a perfect storm of, we're gonna make this call. We're not going to see it right away. I think though, like we said right at the top of talking about this, I think it was something that should have been reviewable and kind of figure out, hey, are we making the right call here? I think especially because there is an ejection thrown out there. I mean, basketball has it with all their flagrant fouls and technical fouls and all that stuff to determine it. Yeah, they're ejections in baseball are their own world, but football has them for their ejections. So I think that's just something that the NHL is probably going to review over the summer and figure it out that way.
Yep.
Yeah, but I mean, let's talk about the series itself, though, because we're kind of taken away from just Colorado, what they did to Calgary, because I think we all kind of forgot how well that first line can play together, and they really showed it in that first series. I mean, Calgary, aside from probably their biggest question mark, their goaltending, the rest of their team just didn't show up, and I think Colorado really took advantage of it. They have, we talked about it a little bit. They have Grubauer, and he played really well. And I think, granted, he has not been playing well through the first game, and currently they're losing the second game. But I mean, what do you guys think so far through the first game plus of this series?
Well, just to touch on your Calgary point, I think it proves more than anything else that the playoffs is such a different game than the regular season. Everyone's talking about how it's speed, it's blah, blah, blah. Now it's all skill, it's finesse. But the Capitals last year, they had speed and toughness. They were physical, right? Their best player was, is a big hitter at times. Teams right now that are left, Dallas, Jamie Benn throws his hands around, fights Chara, gets big hits. St. Louis, a big grinding team. Colorado, I could say, would be the most skilled team left in terms of just that skill with speed without physicality. San Jose, physicality all up and down. Boston, Columbus, same thing. Carolina and the Islanders are only here because that's all they have is they play defense and they're just physical. So the playoffs is such a different game, and I think if we're seeing it firsthand now, Colorado really, I think, is going to get bullied around a little bit in this series by San Jose. At least that's what they've got bullied in game one. We'll see what happens game two and game three, especially at home. But I think end of the day, I think San Jose, just the style of the playoff style, their game fits it a lot better. The thing that's going to hurt them, obviously, is their inconsistent goaltending for San Jose and their inconsistent or their injuries. So, if anything, if the Avalanche can score on Jones and they can score on him early and often, then we're talking about a different series. I think the Avalanche if they can do that, they can put up a lot of goals and win. But end of the day, I think the total sum, and if Jones plays half as well as he played at the end of the series versus Vegas, then I think San Jose takes it pretty easily.
Mm-hmm. Well, boys, I have to say, 2 points. Number one, and we'd be remiss as a podcast if we didn't say this, Jordy, correct me if I'm wrong, none of the divisional winners are in the playoffs anymore.
No, it's the first time ever that all top four, like the 2-8s, the 2-7s, the wild card teams, however you want to refer to them, it's the first time that all of them have won. The top 4 seeds are out. It's the first time ever in the history of the 16 teams, which goes back for nearly 40 years, that this has ever happened. So it's an incredible first round that caps off by this stat alone.
Yeah, and I thank you for clarifying that. That's big. I saw a shirt on, I think it was Twitter, and I can't remember what it was, but it's like it was all the logos, and it's like chaos. It's essentially chaos reigns. I might be quoting a tattoo for one orange mascot in the NHL. I won't say who that is because
the great one.
Ugh.
The great one. The great one. The great one.
Take a lap, Jordy.
Yeah, that's a lap on that one. Thursday, being neither captain nor assistant captain for Thursday, even though you won't be there. Take a lap.
It's game 3 of the Eastern Conference semis. But
oh please, 76ers aren't winning anything.
Wow.
That doesn't mean I can't go and support.
Your softball league is way more important than watching.
Gotta support the team. Gotta support the team.
Exactly. You got to support the softball team. You're paying money to be there.
Gotta support Embiid. We love you, Africa.
Got to support Embiid. Oh, my God. What has Embiid ever done for you? He gets hurt every year in the playoffs.
He and I became friends last week. I saw him on a street corner.
He gets hurt every year in the playoffs.
He looked right in my eyes.
He gets hurt every year in the playoffs. What has he ever done for you?
What do you mean this is his second year in the playoffs. What do you mean every year? You're generalizing. He did great against the Nets. One game against Kawhi and his shit where he did he decides he's going to be Kawhi and Kawhi it out. And him.
Kawhi it out.
Yeah, what are you talking about? Did Joel Embiid, is he covering Kawhi? Is Kawhi covering Joel Embiid? Because that's a mismatch.
No, it absolutely is a mismatch.
Basketball.
Anyway, we're talking about hockey here, Greg. We're talking about hockey here. Jared, continue your thought.
Second point.
Yeah. Please, thank you.
The defense is not resting. San Jose is the last team, and correct me if I'm wrong, boys, to be in the Stanley Cup Finals left in these playoffs.
Yes, they are. Yeah, of all teams left, they are
you not, especially with Joe Thornton.
Wait, what was that stat?
So what Jared means is that they are of all teams remaining, they are the ones to most recently have been in the Stanley Cup Finals 3 years ago because the Penguins are out, the Predators are out, as are Vegas and Washington, who were there last year.
That one, Greg.
I mean, what about the entire Bruins core that has won a cup?
No. He means in terms of the Sharks were there 3 years ago, is what Jared means. The Bruins have made the Stanley Cup Finals in 8 years. That's what Jared means.
Who's being a homer now, Greg?
We'll call out there.
And also, Joe Thornton and his beard, which should be Grecian, but it won't be. You can't deny that. 3 years ago, the Sharks were in the Stanley Cup Finals, losing to my Penguinis. And boys, at the 4:55 mark, somebody's getting called here for the Avalanche. Not very happy. I don't think he has even pubic hair. He doesn't even have facial hair.
They're a young team. I mean, that is something too. We mentioned Colorado.
Oh, and that was not good. It was turn your jersey around. What it was a cross check from behind, and the San Jose player went face first into the glass, and it was a Nikita Zadorov. He got a 2-minute recording. Probably should have been a 4, but it is what it is.
Okay.
So that's your live action shot there. I really think that being in the Stanley Cup Finals over 3 years ago, I mean, I think that plays a lot into it, especially and even though you have new players and whatnot on the team, playoff hockey is different. But being
in San Jose has enough of the same squad from 3 years ago that it really makes sense. And I'll let you finish your point before, because I actually took the Avalanche in this series. So I'll let you finish your point, and I'll sort of defend myself here.
Please. And I mean, I'll just leave it at this. Stanley Cup final, it's like 2 series. Or actually 3. We'll talk it that way. You have number 1, you have the first and second and third rounds. Those are 2 different series themselves, in my opinion. My humble. But once you get to the Stanley Cup finals, all bets are off. That's a whole different ball game. That's a whole new ball of wax. Me being Mr. Cliche, throw it out there. But once you get into the Stanley Cup finals, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter who your team is, if it's an 8 versus 1, if it's a 2 versus 3, however it is. It's one of those, boys, where you're equal. And even though you're not on the scorecard or whatever it be and how many this, you are equal. You've made it to the precipice. It's whoever just pushes it over the top.
For sure. So I will quickly defend myself, and then Greg, I'll throw it over to you. I picked the Avs in 6. Right now, it's looking okay. I mean, granted, both teams are in San Jose. Series doesn't start until an away team wins. But I think the Avs have the top line power that Vegas didn't. We talked a little bit there that Vegas possibly should have won that first round. I've always loved picking for the Sharks too. So I don't want San Jose people to think, I'm just against you because I picked you against you twice. But I think just how Grubauer's played, I think, granted now this is the second game where he's fallen behind, but I think the Avalanche have the firepower to match San Jose. I think if they can squeak out one win, whether it's they come back tonight or they nod this thing up at 2 apiece at home and they squeak something out in game 5. I just think that they have the ability to pull this thing out in 6. If it does go 7, I think all bets are off, and I think San Jose probably pulls it out there because if they can't pull it out, it game 7 might overcome them like it did in the first round. But I think Grubauer is really the key for the Avs there, along with their first line. But Grubauer's really got to, at this point especially, he's got to remain unscathed. Greg, what say you about this round?
I think if San Jose stays out of the box and keeps Colorado off their power play, I think San Jose takes this pretty easily. Counterpoint to you, Jordy, I mentioned it a little bit ago, but the Avalanche, they're more physical than the Flames, sure, which is why they beat up on the Flames, but they're still one of those teams that relies on their skill.
Yeah, more glass cannon.
Yeah, I mean, whatever cliche you want to put on it, but or metaphor you want to put on it, but I think they rely more on their skill than anything else. And I think San Jose, as you guys all mentioned, have playoff knowledge. They know what it takes to win in the playoffs, and they know what type of game they're going to play, and they're dictating their game right now. Sure. And they got a gift in round 1 in beating Vegas, who I thought was going to come out of the West. And I think most people thought Vegas was going to come out of the West again. So for San Jose to be in the position they're in now, I mean, granted, yes, they got a gift in 1 game, but all the other games they had to win on their own. So that said, I think San Jose has the tools, and I think it's going to be, again, comes down to Jones.
Yeah. You have them in 6. You feel confident, Greg?
Yeah.
Same number and everything?
Yeah, I think San Jose, or I think Colorado wins a game at home. Maybe steals one, but I think I'm confident in San Jose in 6.
And Jared, I'm going to read the quote you sent me, and I need you to translate this because there's a little bit of there's one quotation mark that's just by itself. I copy and pasted this from the email. Since blood was spilled, the Sharks smelled it. They Sharks in 5, and I added a pause there. There was it was just there. Comma, same sentence. Standing next to a mountain, comma, still capitals. Chop it down, and with a wave of my hand, capital M, the lone quotation mark. Thanks, Jimmy. Jared, and why is there only one quotation mark in this quote you sent me?
Well, because I was doing it at work. Don't listen to this YMCA because Jordy was like, I need this. You know it exactly as I do. Jimi Hendrix standing next to a mountain. Hulk Hogan. I chop it down with the wave of my hand. The Avalanche, the mountain, versus the Sharks.
Okay.
Look at that. Second level, Jordy.
There it is. I didn't want to add anything onto it. I've misquoted you before. Your words. You've been upset about it. I don't want to misquote you again. I do not want to come under that accusation. So I need to ask. I need clarification.
Jordy, just take Jared's name out of your mouth.
Wait till I get into politics. I'll be misquoted all the time.
Take Jared's name out of your mouth.
No. Oh, that's nice. But here we'll go third level. We'll go third level. I'll give you another reason why the Avalanche won't win. Their coach.
3
Jared
levels?
Bednar.
Oh, my God.
No. Jared Bednar. 1 R.
Okay. Oh, only 1 R. Not like Jared Eichhoff, who's Jarad.
No. I'm Jard. 2 R's. And there's not 2 R's. So you know what? Double the fun, double the R's.
2 N's, 2 L's. I know that. I know that life, baby. 2 N's, 2 L's. You got to double it up.
You got to. Greg, don't.
Greg, you have 2 T's in your name. You double it up, baby.
I don't have 2 T's in my name.
And Piatelli?
I have 1 T in my name. Yikes.
Whoops.
Yikes. Thanks for coming.
Oh, 2 L's. Yeah, you're a 2 L guy. You're a 2 L guy. There we go. Doubled up. I was thinking it was peel it.
To be fair to you, Jordy, the ancestors who came over off the boat had 2 T's and they changed it at Ellis Island to 1.
All right.
So
Yeah.
I'll give you some credit.
Yeah, I mean, I was O'Connell before Ellis Island, so you know it all happens. So Jared, you feel confident though at 5? Or are you?
Wait, so when did your family link up with George Washington himself?
At some point, I don't know. That's we would ask Army George, but yeah.
Well,
we have to get you on
sadly,
Ancestry.com. We have to get you on Ancestry.com.
If they sponsor the podcast, we'll find that out. We'll find it out that way. We'll go that way. Jared, do you feel confident those Sharks in 5? Or you change anything on there?
Is a pig's ass pork?
Yeah. There you go. So we're gonna wrap this thing up. Greg, I want to tell you a quick story. This afternoon was hanging out with a few friends, and a guy.
Greg's gone.
Yeah, Greg's like sucking up laughing gas.
I mean,
oh man,
right after Passover ends, no less.
Yeah, exactly.
Wow.
Greg, hanging out with a few guys this afternoon, and one of my buddies is a big Patriots fan.
Heard of him.
And into the bar walks some guy who we don't even know. Starts shit talking our buddy Jared. It was Paul. It's Paul Kimball.
I'm all right.
But so
I'm all right with it.
So he comes up to me and says, "You an asshole that likes these Boston teams?" I know, no, I'm from Philadelphia. And he goes, "Oh, where from?" And he said, the suburbs I'm from. And he mentions he's from this one area north of Philly, Bucks County, Jared, to give you a little background. And I asked him what high school did he go to, and he goes, "Oh, I'm from this town." And I said, "Hey, I actually went to boarding school in Massachusetts, but I had a buddy who's from the neighboring town," and mentioned our buddy Jake's name. And apparently this guy knew Jake and kept saying all this stuff of how he'd trash talk Goldberg. And this guy was beyond hammered and goes, "Yeah, and that guy's a fucking Patriot fan." I'm like, "Well, no, he's actually a Giant fan." "Oh, fuck, does this make sense?" And I don't know, it's something I thought you might appreciate, Greg. Another Berkshire guy just coming into the fold. And
sounds like a winner. This whoever you're talking to at the bar, he's a Patriot fan.
No, he was wearing a Cubs shirt, but apparently was a 4-for-4 Eagles guy, a Philadelphia guy.
Well, it makes sense that he's a scumbag Eagle fan, but
we're what 9 months, 4 months away from the Eagles coming back, so we'll keep
Eagles
those
coming
back.
Oh my God, please.
Yeah, I mean, we shorted up for Carson. He's going to be a little healthier this year.
Time out. Are you on the team?
All right. Fair enough. They shorted up. But Jared, how you feel? They traded up to the top 10 for the first time. The Steelers did.
Well, you know what?
In a while, I should say.
Well, you know me. I'm not a follow it, dyed in the wool Steelers fan. I love my boys. Good for them. I think it was a great pick. But it's one of those guys where we don't know till they get through training camp and they see action whether or not they're there. Mm-hmm. And that's one of the biggest things where, a linebacker coming in from Michigan, Mike Sambuco, is going to be excited.
Yeah, you can get him and Matty D on the bandwagon.
Well, once again, Matty D, fake Matty D.
You guys got to meet. You both have to meet the real Matty D, my cousin, who's
we do.
Just the best. Love that guy.
I would love to.
Yeah.
It's good for the Steelers. I mean, the Patriots had a good draft. Greg, what's your thought? I mean, I know this is the hockey pod, but there's a couple points I want to bring up, and especially with football. But how do you think the Pats did?
In Bill we trust.
Bill we trust. Greg, I
Uh,
finally watched the two Bills, the 30 for 30 last week. It was
dude,
great.
just finally watched that?
Yeah, I had missed it, and it was finally on demand, so I got to watch it.
No, honestly.
Good Bill impression. Oh, yikes. So Seattle.
Great 30 for 30, but I think the Patriots didn't get a tight end. And I was a little frustrated by that, but again, in Bill we trust. He hasn't steered the team wrong in a while. It's funny because Jared, normally the Patriots don't go after flashy names. They don't go after receivers and running backs in the first round.
Didn't I see a wide receiver got picked in?
That's what I'm saying. They don't do that in the first round. In the last 2 years, Sony Michel and now.
Did the Patriots not trading for Josh Rosen prove the Cardinals right in drafting Kyler Murray? It was a move Bill didn't make. And when Bill makes a move or doesn't make a move, you got to second guess yourself.
No,
if you're any other team in the NFL.
No, I think Josh Rosen needs another shot. But It's funny, Jared, because everyone in the AFC got better, but so did the Patriots. So on one hand, I think it was a great draft for them, but I think they still have a need at tight end. But they're hoping that all these weapons and running backs and receivers around Brady will be enough to fulfill. Like three people will fill the role of one Gronk, if that makes sense.
Well, I know you're not wrong there. I mean, hell, I had a conversation today about the Patriots tight ends. One of them being retired, and one of them being retired, and one of them being of the late variety. See what you may there. It's one of those where with the Steelers, I can't really say much about what they picked. I know I believe we picked another QB in there. At least we're not the Giants picking the Eli Manning
Jones,
who would play Eli Manning in a made-for-TV movie on.
That's the best NFL draft meme that I've seen in the last couple of years.
It's excellent on a.
They
Hallmark
did
channel.
though, Jared. They picked up Don Bragalona, a Lehigh running back.
Did they really?
Yeah, they got him as an undrafted free agent. So we can't, as much as I don't like the Giants, you got to give them little props there for getting one of our boys.
Being there this weekend, okay, we'll do that.
Yeah, all right. So to wrap things up, who are you guys thinking now? Because Jared, you had the Penguins. Greg, you had Tampa. How do you guys feel the Stanley Cup Finals are going to shake out? Jared, I'll start with you.
All right. I think it's going to end up being, I'm going to say it's going to be the Sharks.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to make it through. And then if we're looking over at the East, you know what? Fuck it. Carolina.
Wow. Okay. Greg, how about you, my man?
After game one of the Bruins-Columbus series, I would have said the Bruins. Game two, they look so exhausted and tired. Luckily, they have a third day off randomly in this series, weirdly enough. So that should help them.
Mm-hmm.
But just kidding, they don't have that. Oh yeah, they do. Yeah, and game three is Tuesday, so they have 3 days off there. So I'm gonna stick with the Bruins. I'm gonna say Bruins out of the East and San Jose and St. Louis in the Western Conference Finals. I think it's gonna be Carolina and Boston. I think Boston beats Carolina, and I think fuck it, San Jose beats St. Louis, and then it's Jumbo Joe versus the Bruins for the Cup.
Wow.
I like that Final Four. I just flip your Western Conference teams. I still have the Bruins over St. Louis in the finals. I think I really want a rematch of the Carolina-Boston series. Greg, you and I saw our senior year of high school. And I want a rematch of 3 years ago when the San Jose Sharks last won the Western Conference against St. Louis. And I think Jordan Binnington carries them through that. So
nice.
Bruins over St. Louis.
I love it. Yeah. Go Bruins.
Well, boys, I just want to bring up 2 points because I think it's remiss if we don't. Sebastian Janikowski retired today after, I believe, 19 seasons between the Raiders and the Seahawks.
Well brought up.
What a fucking career.
Yes.
I mean, we can't say that. And then Chase Elliott won Talladega today, and Jordy, as somebody who knows Dega, that's a good race. I missed it. I missed the whole race today, so I don't even know what happened. So it's fine.
Yeah, I didn't watch it either. I had a little bit of Ziza, as I mentioned, a little bit of an afternoon with the boys. But guys, I think that's going to do it. Thank you so much for jumping on. I know we got to go get depressed with Game of Thrones. So we got.
I got to go play kickball.
Oh, Jared. All right. So you go win that, get a win tonight, and then we'll be in the same mindset by the end of the night.
Jordy, let's do a quick preview. Give me one major character that dies tonight.
Oh
man, Greg, you're going to make this a lot of fun for me to edit this later when we know the answers. Major character that dies tonight. I mean, I think after last week, I'm going to go chalk, but I think, sadly, I think Sir Brienne dies. I think that was her send off.
That's a great point. I'm gonna jump aboard that bandwagon. I say Sir Brienne dies as well.
Yeah.
Boys. I'm going to say Reek himself, Pretty Mouth dies.
Nice.
You think so? All right.
Good call. I'm going to say
it's going to be a lot of fun for me to go edit after
Jorah dies too.
Don't edit it. Put it through.
No, this will be in, but it's going to be fun for me to listen back and be like, oh, we were so wrong.
Oh, are you actually going to listen back? Because last time with our NHL picks, you just wrote it down at the time. You didn't actually listen back.
Whoa, Miss Slippy. I wrote it down right at the time. Listeners, go correct Greg. We're already getting hashtag Greg was wrong by some of our loyal listeners that live in my apartment with me.
Are we?
My apartment with me, quote.
Well, you know what? That seems like a homer pick.
Ooh.
Yeah, well, then Emily's a homer. You know, she loves to prove you wrong, I guess.
She literally tweeted already. I love it. Jordy, give him the social media.
Yeah, so follow us on Twitter, ThunderBLG. And Greg, are you GurgisP on both Twitter and Instagram?
No, I don't really know what I am on Twitter.
Yeah, you're GurgisP on Instagram. Jared, I believe, is both Jared S. Barnes 21 on both.
No. At Jared S. Barnes and at JSB 46 on the ham.
There it is. I'm Jordo9 on both. But ThunderBLG on Twitter, Thunderblog Sports on Instagram, just like the website, thunderblogsports.com.
Go Bees. Go Bees. Go Sox.
Go Phillies, go Sixers.
The Pirates just screwed the pooch. That's enough.
I mean, the NL Central's wide open. Christian Yelich got hurt today, sadly.
Hey, we're going
to be fine.
We're going for the Boston sweep, boys.
Hey, Joel Embiid will say it was me. But that's going to do it, boys. Thank you. Have a great week, everybody, and we'll talk to you soon.
Say classy, Philly.
What a way to end it. Stay classy, Philly, he says.
Boy, as always.
Are we still live? Jordy didn't.
Yeah, we're still live. We're going.
I'm trying to cancel out of it. Hold on.
Go C's. Go Bees. Go Bees. Go C's.
The YouTube people will hear it. Yeah, you guys can head out, though. I'll close this thing out. Thank you, guys.
Dude, it was great.
Thank you, Jordy.
This is a ton of fun.
All right, give it to the world. Peace, love, and gap.
All right, gentlemen. Peace.
I'll see you guys later.
Love. See ya.